Back to some politics now. The New Hampshire primary is a semi-open one, meaning any registered voter can cast a ballot, and that includes undeclared voters who can temporarily register with either party, vote, and then drop that party affiliation. With 44% of registered voters in the state undeclared, it could have a major impact on who wins today. Joining us now, Darren Shaw, political science professor at the University of Texas and a Fox News pollster. You'll recognize him as your appearances are getting more frequent, as they should, Darren, on our network as we continue to look through these numbers. So let's just work through this just bit by bit. What is a semi-open primary?
Oh, man, I got to put on my political science hat here for a second. Okay, there are caucuses like we had in Iowa, and caucuses are dominated by party registrants. So if you're Republican, you can participate in the Republican. Democrat, you can participate in the Democrat. There are closed primaries, which if you're a registered Democrat, you can vote on the Democratic side. Registered Republican, you can vote in the Republican. Then it gets a little interesting. In Texas, for instance, we have an open primary. I teach at the University of Texas. And an open primary means that you're Democrat or Republican, you can show up on Election Day and request whichever ballot you choose. You can't do both, but you can vote in either one you choose. Semi-open is kind of rare. It's an elusive animal. And New Hampshire has a semi-open, so Republicans can vote in the Republican, Democrats can vote in the Democrat, but those who decline to state a party preference, aren't registered, they can basically show up and vote in whichever primary they choose. So Democrats can't cross over. Republicans can't cross over, but the independents can.
Now, are they registered independents, or are they simply labeled undeclared? Because we're going to talk so much about independents in the next several months.
Right, right.
So these are just, they're not even saying they're independent. They're just saying they're free.
And it's a great point, Jenna, that what you have are a sort of a housekeeping designation. So a lot of these people who decline to state, who are undeclared, are actually partisans. They actually think of themselves as Republicans or Democrats, and that's why they're distinct, as you raised the point just a second ago. They're distinct from, a few months from now when we start talking about people who actually consider themselves politically independent. These are just people who haven't registered with the Republicans or Democrats. So, we were talking about 44%, of all registered voters are declined to state or undeclared. Well, some appreciable portion of those are really Republicans and Democrats who simply don't want to register as such. But they think of themselves that way, and they vote that way. It
is interesting. We were listening to a woman speak with Martha McCallum during their show, and she said, well, I'm looking at Kasich or Clinton. And she, it didn't matter. It wasn't, upon party lines that she was looking at the candidates. She was looking all over the place, which makes New Hampshire interesting because she could decide last minute to vote for either party if she is in part of that undeclared voter section. What are you going to be watching tonight, Darren, as we're getting the numbers, and we're going to get some numbers in throughout the day, but really 7, 8 o'clock tonight's when we're going to get the good stuff. What are you going to be watching for?
Well, I think there's a couple things. On the Democratic side, the real question is whether Hillary Clinton is closing. The Clintons, the family has a great reputation in New Hampshire. They seem to have a special connection here. So there's a sense amongst people who are doing this stuff, following this stuff really closely, that she may prove to be a little closer to Bernie Sanders than some of the polls indicate. On the Republican side, I'm looking to see if Trump breaks 30%. I think that's a big deal. He's been polling 27, 28, 29. If he breaks 30, that's impressive. If he doesn't, there's a question about whether his support is overstated. And then, of course, there's the huge, second through fifth train wreck we have on the Republican side. Kasich, Rubio, Cruz, Bush. I keep hearing different things from different people. Oh, Jeb's got momentum. Kasich's got momentum. I don't have a clue. Let's wait for the data to come in, and then we'll actually be able to say something intelligent on it.
I know that's the good stuff, is really to get the numbers and see where everything's sort of settled at the end of the night. Just quickly here, Darren, how does the New Hampshire results determine or impact what we're going to look at in South Carolina and the next several races that we're going to be watching?
New Hampshire is notoriously poor at forecasting future primary results, so not much, but we pay a lot of attention to it because those of us who follow it are interested in seeing, does it winnow the field? Does anybody drop? Do donors take their cues from, say, a strong showing from a Kasich or a Jeb Bush or Marco Rubio and then start getting into the game backing those, I hate to use the phrase, but establishment lane candidates? It's the most hackneyed expression we've got going, but I'll use it as well.
We're all using it. We're going to try to figure out a better expression, but for now it fits.
You need to help me on that.
No, you work on the numbers, I'll work on the language. It's a good teamwork. That's right. Darren, great to see you. We'll, of course, be watching your work later on tonight as we get the polling results and see what the numbers actually tell us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.